Welcome everyone for today's presentation, Education on Osteoporosis. This presentation is being recorded and will be posted to our SBSS Family Caregiver Support Program website. You can have access to that if you like afterwards. My name is Olga Yamawaki. I am one of the case managers for the Family Caregiver Support Program here at St. Barnabas, Mid-City. I want to introduce the Family Caregiver Support Group team composed of Amy Blackburn. She's the program manager. We have Michelle McGuire, another case manager at the program, and myself. So today I want to be talking about osteoporosis. And what is osteoporosis? This is a disease that causes bone to become weak and brittle. Usually it has, when an older adult has a fall, it usually affects them mostly with the hip break, backbone, spine, or the wrist, usually when they're trying to break a fall. Osteoporosis is called a silent disease because most of the time you don't have any symptoms. The symptoms, you won't even know that you have it until you do break a bone in a fall. Let's see. To help prevent osteoporosis and broken bones, bone is a living tissue. So in order to keep your bones strong, your body breaks down old bone and replaces it with new bone tissue. But as we age, we lose some of that bone tissue, and it may take longer for that bone to be replaced. So the goal for bone health throughout our lives is to keep as much bone as possible for as long as we can. This will help, reduce some of those risk falls and some of those broken bones if you do tend have a fall. So who gets osteoporosis? Both men and women are affected by the disease of all races, ethnic groups. 1 in 3 women over 50 are most likely at risk of developing the disease, and 1 in 5 men over 50 are at risk of osteoporosis. It can occur at any age, but it's most common among older adults, especially women. Many men think that they will not get the disease because it does affect women more, but also men are also at risk of getting it, especially when they reach their 70s. Let's see. For women, there are greater risk earlier in life. It usually starts to develop a year or 2 before menopause, when the hormones start to change in women. And as we get older, the risk of osteoporosis, of course, increases. It is also most common in non-Hispanic white women, in Asian women. African American and Hispanic are still at risk, but they have lower risk of developing the disease. And among men, it's more common in non-Hispanic whites. Some of the risk factors and causes of osteoporosis. There's some factors that you cannot change, while there's other factors that you might be able to change throughout time to help minimize the risk of developing osteoporosis. For example, sex. If you are a woman, your chances of developing the disease are a greater risk than men. Both women and men can develop the disease, but women are more at risk. Age is a factor. As we age, we lose a lot of our bone mass. Bones get weaker, so as we grow older, especially women over 65 are at greater risk of developing the disease. Your body size. For slender, thin bone women and men are at greater risk of developing osteoporosis. Race, again, you know, before, like I mentioned the slide before, it could be any race, but American and Asian women are more at risk than Hispanic and African American. But again, it goes races throughout. Anybody could get it. It's just certain races are at more risk of developing the disease. And of course, if you have family history, that could also be a major factor. If it runs in your family, some of your parents had it, there's more chances of you developing the disease. Changes in hormones for women, this is with menopause, that causes bone loss. So that has increased, one of the factors of women developing it more than men. Your diet as well. We know that if your intake of calcium and vitamin D is low, it puts you at greater risk of developing osteoporosis. Also, dieting too much or getting too little protein could also affect and increase your chances of osteoporosis. Other risk factors, it's medication. Certain medication might cause your bone to, for bone loss, or the long-term use of medication as well. Some medical conditions, especially for older adults, that may be a factor. And of course, your lifestyle. If you're not getting enough exercise, you're not physically active, you're physically inactive, your muscles and your bones start to get weak, so that increases your risk factors. If you had extended bed rest, again, that's the physical inactivity. You know, you're not exercising your muscles and your bones, so that gets weaker as time goes on. If you smoke, smoking causes, when you smoke, your intake of vitamin D decreases, so that is one of the causes why smoking is one of the risk factors. And long-term heavy drinking as well as one of the risk factors for developing osteoporosis. And preventing osteoporosis with nutrition. I think with anything, a healthy diet and lifestyle can reduce a lot of your long-term diseases or diminish the risk of you developing any. Eating foods and liquids rich in calcium, vitamin D, and protein. This could be low-fat dairy products, dark green leafy vegetables, bok choy, collards, turnip greens, those are very good. Broccoli, sardines, and salmon with the bone. For some reason, it provides more calcium. Calcium fortified foods such as soy milk, tofu, orange juice, cereals, and breads. Also plenty of fruits and vegetables, and also an appropriate amount of calorie as you age, for your age and health and height and weight. And you can ask your doctor how many calories you should be consuming depending on your age, height, and weight. So if you want to know exact intake calorie, you can consult your doctor for that specific. So the goal of treating osteoporosis is to slow down or stop the bone mass and prevent any broken bones for as long as we can. Also, vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium. So some foods naturally contain enough vitamin D. Some of those could be fatty fish, fish oils, egg yolk, and liver. Those are rich in vitamin D. Other foods that have added vitamin D are milks and cereals. So you can start consuming a little more of those to help your vitamin D intake. And also exercise. It's good for preventing osteoporosis. Keeping the muscles strong, it improves coordination and balance. We know that as we age, some adults can start diminishing, have their balance, start having problems with their balance. And that's one of the main causes of falls among older adults. It also helps keep your independence, because we know when, what happens when somebody falls, it could lead to a broken bone. You become more dependent on help from either family or friends, because you're not able to do those activities that you used to do on your own anymore. Some regular weight-bearing exercise, such as weight training, walking, hiking, jogging, dancing, and even climbing stairs will be good. It is recommended to get at least 150 minutes per week of physical activity to be able to keep your bones and muscle strong. Other ways of preventing osteoporosis is avoiding some activities such as twisting, especially for older adults, sit-ups. It'll help prevent any back injuries, toe touches, swinging, such as a golf club. You're twisting your hip. And of course, lifestyle changes. If you smoke, try to quit smoking. Try to limit your alcohol intake to 1 to 2 drinks. Especially women, they recommend 1 drink. For men, try to limit to 2 drinks. And regular doctor checkups, and let your doctor know if you've had a fall in the past, and you should be able to put a plan together how to prevent some of those falls. And then you can also discuss any medications with your doctors, and then I'll go a little over more. So there's a test to diagnose osteoporosis. It's called a bone density or a bone mineral density test. It is recommended for women 65 and older, and any women under 65 who are at risk, increased risk, whether it runs in your family, if you have one of those risk factors, or if you've had a fall in the past that had led to a broken bone, you're more at a risk of developing. So they are recommending anybody under 65 to also get a test. The results for the test is called the T-score, and this can measure whether you have your normal bone capacity, your low bone density, which they call osteopenia, or if you are already developed or close to developing osteoporosis. So what is osteopenia? This is low bone mass. Doctors also call it low bone mass. The bone loss this is kind of like sort of like pre-diabetic. So this is pre-osteoporosis, if you can put it in a sense. This is where the bone has started to be lost. So it's kind of like an early warning for individuals to take the necessary steps to prevent further bone loss and prevent developing osteoporosis. So at this stage, you can still prevent some of that bone loss with the proper changes. Let's see. So again, you take action to prevent any further damage and prevent osteoporosis, especially later in life, which could cause to major life changes as we get older. So treatment for osteoporosis, again, a healthy lifestyle. It's the main one of the main treatments. Your doctor might prescribe some medication for osteoporosis as well. It'll prevent or slow down the process of osteoporosis. And then fall-proofing your home. A lot of the falls happen in the home. So we can prevent, some falls are inevitable. Older adults can suffer a fall, but if you have strong bones, even if you fall, it'll prevent that risk of breaking a bone, which can have a huge difference. So older adults and falls. For older adults, a fall can be the start of more serious problems. 1 in 3 people aged 65 and older fall each year. Falls are the #1 cause of fractures, and 6 out of 10 falls happen at home. Falls account for 25% of hospital admissions in the US and 40% of nursing home admissions. Falls are the leading cause of death due to injury among elder adults. 1 out of 5 hip fractures in patients die within a year after injury. Because, once an older adult has a fall, they either end up in the hospital, nursing facility for rehab. And even with rehab, if they do recuperate from a fall, they still lose some of that independence. They're still not able to function fully like they used to. And some of them who do not gain all that full ability to recuperate have to depend on others. And if they don't have any family, it's harder for them to get around and do the things that they used to do before. Other factors for falls in older adults, it's their eyesight. As we get older, our eyesight, our hearing, and our reflexes are not the same. We don't react the same as we used to when we were younger. So that has a huge impact on falls in older adults. Some health problems can affect balance in older adults, such as diabetes, heart disease, or problems with thyroid, which can result in a fall. And some medication may have side effects, which can make the older adult feel dizzy or sleepy, which increases the odds of a fall. And some safety hazards in the home or in the community. We've seen people fall out in the streets. They're taking a walk and the pavement's uneven, so they can fall. Or in the home, if there's too much clutter, that could cause also a fall. And some older adults that have experienced falls might fear that they will experience more falls in the future, and therefore start diminishing their activities in the home or out in the community. This will have an impact on their social activities as well. Some fall prevention tips. Stay active, physically active. Have your eyes and ears tested if you need to get new glasses. If your eyesight changes, need new glasses. But also it takes time for the glasses to adjust to your eyes. So those few days also for the time that needs adjustment is very critical to reduce falls. Know the side effects of your medications. Get enough sleep. Sometimes if older adult is tired and sleepy during the day, it increases their chances of a fall. Limit your alcohol intake. Stand up slowly. I don't know if you guys ever stand up and you feel like a rush in your head. For older adults, if they get up too fast, their blood pressure drops. So this can make them feel wobbly, and this could increase a risk of a fall. And then use assistive devices such as walkers and canes. This will help maintain your stability and provide support. But we got to make sure that they're the right size for you as well. You don't want to be using a walker that's too small. You're hunched over, and it defeats the purpose of the device. And some older adults I know refuse to use this devices such as a walker and a cane because it makes them look too old. They're not old enough to use a cane or a walker, even though they need it to prevent some of those falls. Using proper footwear. If you're indoors and you have hardwood floors, try not to walk in socks or walking in slippers or high heels or shoes that are too big or too small for you. So just try to have the proper footwear. Non-skid soles will help diminish the risk falls for older adults. Some fall prevention in the home. As I mentioned before, most of the falls happened in the home. So try to keep rooms free of clutter, especially the floors. Use plastic or carpet runners if you have slippery floors. Try to wear shoes indoors as opposed to just socks, especially with hardwood floors that are more slippery. Well-lit stairs and rails on both sides of the stairs also will help going up and down the stairs. And even at night, having some night lights on in the bathroom or in the bedroom will help when they're getting out at night to use the bathroom. Installing grab bars in the bathroom will also help with any falls that might happen in the home. Again, the use of night lights. And be aware of any pets. If you have any pets in the home, sometimes they go in between your legs, you're trying to walk, and that could cause them to trip over the pet and have a fall. And some fall prevention outdoors as well. Try to use a walker or cane. Wear shoes that provide support, non-slip shoes, slows. Try to walk on grass if the sidewalks are too slippery. Stop at curbs. Sometimes we don't estimate the height of the step, so we just take a leap and it was either too steep or too low, and that could have a fall on anybody. The sidewalks, I know a lot of the sidewalks are just uneven, some of the routes, and sometimes you're not even paying attention when you're walking. And that could have a impact on a fall, especially for older adults. Okay, so that is all for my presentation. If anybody has any questions or comments.
I have a comment. Can you guys hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I've done a lot of research on osteoporosis and building bone. It's very similar to how you build muscle. So you can think of your bone as like a bricklayer in bricks. So the calcium is the bricks, and the only way you can start that process to build bone and to make it stronger is by applying force to it, so that gets that bricklayer moving to start stacking the bricks. And but there has to be some type of force applied to the bone, and then that's why they recommend exercise, especially weight-bearing exercise or weight training exercise, because that provides enough force that starts that process for the calcium and the vitamin D to all work together to build the bone and make that bone stronger. It's the same process as building muscle. You have to apply some type of force to the muscle to make the muscle stronger. So sometimes people don't understand that concept. You can't just take calcium and take vitamin D. You have to actually do something to get that process going to build that bone. The calcium won't just build the bone automatically. That's why they always tell older adults to stay active. I mean, that's one of the reasons. Keep your bones strong, keep your muscles strong. So.
That's good to know. I've known that weight-bearing exercise is essential to bone health, and I've known that calcium and vitamin D are essential to bone health, but never put them all together. You know, it's more, I've been thinking like you just said, like, oh, I take calcium because it helps my bones. Thinking of that as individual factor, right?
Yep.
Not as part of a process. What I find interesting is, Olga, you mentioned a low protein diet is a risk factor. And I find that interesting because of the popularity of low protein diets. Since I think Dr. Atkins maybe in the 80s or 90s, and then paleo and I think those are maybe kind of low protein, but we kind of do focus on low protein diet. And I wonder if that's, yeah, I wonder if that's having any effect from a public health perspective, you know? And I also think about our clients. A lot of our clients are bedridden or low mobility. Well, I'm sorry, the care recipients, not our clients. So I could see that osteoporosis is probably just rampant, you know, in the care recipients. It's a lack of movement.
Yeah.
Especially bedridden, they're not moving their muscles. They're not getting that physical activity. So for them, it's greater risk, I would think.
Yeah. And does any of you guys, do you know the rate at which we start to lose bone? I mean, like if I was bedridden after surgery, how many weeks or months? I know it would depend on my health and my nutrition and things like that, but is there kind of an average? I know that muscle atrophy is kind of said to start after like 3 days or something. So I'm just wondering if anybody knows. I guess it'd be too hard to measure, because at what point does it become a problem, right?
Well,
I mean, it's all in degrees.
Women start losing bone density after age 30. So I've actually known women who have osteopenia in their 30s. So unless you're proactive about maintaining your bone density, you start to lose it pretty early, especially women. And it starts going pretty fast the older you get. But when those things do come up, it's important to already have that good bone density, because if you already have that established, you're not going to lose it as fast if something does happen where you're bedridden. So
I didn't realize that. I'm sorry. So if you have real good density, it takes longer to lose it?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Same with muscle. Like if you have a pretty good muscle mass built up, it's not going to atrophy as fast either. But there is a difference between muscle and bone. Muscle, you can build muscle a lot faster than you can bone. Muscle, you can start building muscle within like a few months. Bone, it can take years to actually build that density. So same thing with the loss process. But I also wanted to mention, as far as protein, low protein is kind of is relative, because when you say low, people can only process 20 grams of protein at a time. So when you eat a meal, say you eat 3 to 4 ounces of fish or chicken, so just a little fillet, that has about 20 to 25 grams in it. So that's all you need in the meal. That's all your body can process as far as protein. So when you're saying low protein, it depends on your body mass, like how much you weigh, because bigger people with bigger muscles need more protein. So they would be closer to that 20 to 25 gram range of protein in a meal that they would probably need. And then somebody who's lower weight and lower muscle mass, bone mass, they might need lower amounts of protein, so maybe 15 grams. But low protein intake is probably, I mean, I'm guessing anywhere between 5 and 10 grams of protein in a meal. So, and you can get protein from things like beans and high fiber carbohydrates and stuff like that. And usually those will be in the range like between 10 and 15 grams of protein. So that might be like in the medium range, you know. So yeah, protein I think is emphasized a little too much when it comes to nutrition. It's best to think about it throughout the day, like each meal. Make sure you have either like probably around 10 grams of protein at least for each meal, unless you're having some kind of meat. Any kind of meat you're having, it's usually probably around 20 grams of protein, and that's probably all you need for that meal as far as protein is concerned. But I mean, think about those people who eat like a 10-ounce steak. That's probably like 40 grams of protein in one sitting. So,
Gosh. You mentioned medications too, Olga. I thought that was interesting. I'd never thought about that, but I guess the medications could impact osteoporosis in a million ways. You know, I mean, it could prevent calcium reabsorption. It could, all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The older adults that are tons of medications and they've been taking them for years. So even the long-term use of medications, you know, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that you said bone is a living tissue, because it is, you know, it actually operates a lot like muscle, where how the force needs to be applied to build it and make it stronger. It's just a slower process.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions?
I just have a quick story I want to tell. I always tell this story when I say anything about bones or osteoporosis. I used to work with this client who was in her 60s and she had osteopenia, and I developed an exercise program for her where we were applying a lot of force in these exercises purposely so that we could build that bone, because she did have osteopenia. Because when you do have osteopenia, that is the time where you really want to focus on making the bone stronger, because that's the last chance you have. Yeah. It's like what you said, how pre-diabetic, that's the precursor to diabetes. That's how osteopenia is, because once you've crossed that line and you have the disease, you have osteoporosis, there's no going back. You now have brittle bone, and you could break that bone at any moment. So in that osteopenia stage, it's really, really important to do very specific exercises that apply enough force where you can build new bone. But she was getting a bone density test every year. And after a year of working with me in this exercise program, she got a bone density test, and her doctor looked at the results, and her hip bone density had increased by about 2%, and her lumbar spine bone density had increased by, I think it was around 5% or something.
Oh, wow.
And the doctor was just floored. He couldn't believe that somebody her age with the low bone density that she had would be able to build that much bone within a year. And doctors just aren't, you know, knowledgeable about exercise and the potential of exercise, and how people at any age can improve their muscle or bone strength, especially when they're not in that disease phase. So I always like to use her as an example because she was so excited. She brought the results to me and couldn't believe it. Her doctor couldn't believe it. So, and I had read about it and researched about it, but that was the first time I saw for myself, wow, people can actually do this. So it's pretty amazing. Exercise is amazing for everything.
Yeah, that's true.
Hi. It's interesting that to know that you were able to. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That you were able to have an exercise program for that lady. So maybe I can also use this because a couple years ago I was diagnosed with a mild bone density, and I'm so lazy. Aside from being lazy of exercising, I also don't know what kind of exercise that I can do. So
Okay.
maybe you can share that exercise plan to me.
Okay. It's kind of hard when you're not in person. Do you do stuff at home right now, or do you go to a gym right now?
No, just home. We have like a small weightlifting thing, which improvise with my children. I can share. I can ask them to, lend it to me so I can use. Well, we're staying in the same house, so
Okay.
that's it.
Yeah, it's hard to tailor something unless, like I've seen you exercise. I know what your strength level is and stuff like that. But there is a program there where they do online exercise videos, like with trainers. Do you remember the name of that, Olga? I think we have the brochure there in our office.
Oh, yes. Fit something. Yes, I know which one you're talking about.
Flex Fit or something like that?
Yes, Flex Fit.
Flex Fit? Okay. We'll give you that info, Michelle, to provide Louise, but you could probably sign up on that, Louise, and that'll be a good start for you to start doing things. Because if you're able to get online like this and see video and stuff, you'll be able to access that program.
Yeah.
And those exercises. Sure. And I believe it's a free program.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
It's just a matter of starting up and then
yeah.
and then,
maintain and continue.
because I think that's the hardest part, starting the regimen.
It is for me. Actually, for me, it's starting every day. It's like when I used to run, somebody says the hardest step of any run is the first step out of bed. And it's for me, that was so true. If I can get myself started daily, then I'm golden. And so I just make it real easy on myself and say, oh, I'm just going to lift those 5-pound weights for 30 seconds. And that's it. And that's how I get myself started. Sometimes I let myself do that, but most of the time when I'm done with the 30 seconds, then I feel good and I want to continue. So I just trick myself and work myself into getting started. Just be gentle. That's what I do.
Okay.
Okay, well, if nobody else has any questions, I'll go ahead and stop the recording.